Hard work, work.
There you go.
Forward.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work. Hard work, work.
There you go.
Forward.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work. Hard work, work.
There you go.
Forward.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Fall in. Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good? What's everyone? Y'all know what it is. It's me, your boy Trey, and welcome to First Formation Sports Talk. As your favorite vets on the next get back into getting it in. Plenty has gone on in sports since the last time in which we talked, and we're gonna get to it, of course. First and foremost, shout out. Let's start off with the ladies this morning. Plenty to go around. Congratulations. First and foremost, congratulations to the GOAT, as they call her, Doris Burke, that she was the first woman to serve as a TV game analyst for a major men's professional championship event. As she last night was a play-by-play analysis, called plays on the Celtics and Mavericks championship game last night. If you follow Doris Burke, you know that she has done plenty for the sport, that's men and women's. And last night, of course, she was rewarded with the opportunity to call play-by-play and did a tremendous job. So shout out to Doris Burke. And additionally, as much as it pains me to say it, however, I do have to take in consideration and keep in mind that there's no discrimination. It doesn't make a difference who or what team you are. We still talk on it and speak on it, good, bad, and indifferent. But a shout out to the University of Oklahoma Sooners, as their women's softball team won a unprecedented fourth consecutive softball World Series championship last night over Texas. That's four of them things. Interestingly enough, Oklahoma wasn't, you got to think of the dominance of Oklahoma and what they bring to the table, but Oklahoma wasn't as dominant as we have seen them in the past, blistering through, going undefeated and everything like that. That actually was the Texas team. But now, of course, they played head-to-head, and Oklahoma was able to win 2-0 in the final in the World Series game, again claiming their fourth consecutive victory. So shout out to the Oklahoma Sooners, the women's softball team, as they are now victorious again and look to run it back yet again come next year. So plenty going on in that. So like I say, staying in that, if we basically talk about our sisters in the WNBA, still, as we know, 40-game season. Things aren't looking up for some teams. Other teams, things are a little bit different. However, there were two games last night in which the Chicago Sky took on the Washington Mystics, in which the Skies was able to edge out a victory, 79-71 over the Washington Mystics. With that victory, the Sky are now 4-5 on the year. However, the Mystics, with the loss, continue to search for a victory, as they're currently 0-10 on the year. The later game was the New York Liberty faced off against the Atlanta Dream, in which the Liberty were able to amount a 78-61 victory over the Atlanta Dream. With that loss, the Atlanta Dream become a 500 team at 4-4. The Victory go on and are just 2 losses on the year, with 9 victories. Not bad at all. Of course, Friday's night games will entail a full slate, as the Wings and the Wings and the Sparks have a game at 9 p.m. The Storm will face off against the Las Vegas Aces, the Lynx and Mercury, and the Fever and Mystics, in which the expectation is, will the Fever get yet another win, or will the Mystics get their first win tonight? So, of course, that's going to be watched. Additionally, we know it's a game with Caitlin Clark, so those tend to bring in a lot of information, a lot of a lot of attention as well. So when you do a rundown and look at it, the Connecticut Sun continue to lead the league. Currently, the only undefeated team in the league at 9-0. The Liberty come in second in the league at 9-2. The Lynx are 7-2 on the year. The beloved Aces, two-time defending champion, back-to-back seasons. The Aces are 5-2. The Storm are 6-3. Atlantic Dream come in at 4-4. The Phoenix Mercury had a hot start, but currently do still sit with 4 wins, 6 losses on the year. Chicago Sky 4-5, and then the Dallas Mavericks come in 3-5. The Sparks are 2-7, 2-9 for the Indiana Fever, and last but not least, the Washington Mystics at 0 wins, 10 losses on the year. But like I said, 40-game season, so that means at minimum there's 29 games remaining, in which it could be turned around all in the blink of an eye for an organization. You got to take in consideration when the season started, no one was checking for the Connecticut Sun, and no one expected the Connecticut Sun to be this dominant at this point with the 9 wins. But however, we know that all could be turned around and all could be diminished just in the blink of the eye. Of course, everyone was looking at the Liberty and the Aces, in which currently, like I said, the Liberty are that team when you take a look at it. But definitely the Sun wasn't who everyone was talking about. Some things that have come up, however, is with the of course, we know Caitlin Clark, heralded rookie on the beginning of the season, was being touted, in which now it seems like she's being targeted, in which it has been conversations in which she has talked about and spoke candidly about the fact of did certain players have to be worried about being targeted and seen? Did Magic and Bird have to worry about being targeted or sought after to try to make a point, prove a point? Did Michael Jordan have to do that? Well, in a sense, from what I believe, Michael Jordan probably did. Like at some point, Michael Jordan was targeted. They did kind of rough him up and keep him and do things, throw different types of defenses and things at him, or different type of players at him to kind of rile him up and get him off keister. And it to some degree it worked until they were able to find a system and figure out a different way to make things happen for them, and which eventually Michael Jordan was able to come that. But currently, from Caitlin Clark's perspective, is that she is being targeted. And what do you say about that? I know there was a time, or not too long ago, Draymond Green did speak about and say that Caitlin Clark needs an enforcer on her team. She basically needs someone that's going to be on the squad, that's going to come and is going to kind of like protect her and keep her defended. So I don't know if does she need that? I mean, possibly, maybe it's just one of those things where you have to take into consideration. Like she needs something at this point, but I guess the best protection is for you to protect yourself. And when she gets an opportunity, she will be able to probably go off. She's still, I mean, like we said, at this point, she's only 11 games into her rookie season. So there's a perspective. And I mean, she came in, I ain't gonna say the media did it to her or put the target on her back, but I mean, she came in as a heralded rookie. But she wasn't the only heralded rookie, but she was the most heralded rookie of this class. And she has to basically, I guess, take that at this point. She can find out a way to quell the target, I guess, or get the target off her back. As long as she has her games are, how do I put it? I guess you could say as long as her game in general is, I guess you could say, mediocre or things, that's going to continue to give people the fire and fewer their the target that's on her back. Once she starts to, I think, build an immunity to this and kind of like fight off and herald it, maybe she might have to get a little physical as well. I think once that happens, then you start to see a difference, right? Are the the powers that be in the WNBA and the NBA going forth to teams, owners, and team front offices and saying like, "Hey, y'all need to ensure that this is not going on." I doubt they're doing that, and they're not going to do that. I'm very sure. But she kind of, I can say, build thick skins, but she just has to figure out as well. Like the front offices of the league, particularly that of the Phoenix, not the Phoenix, the Indiana Fever are going to have to find and devise a plan that's going to help Caitlin Clark to be able to get more looks, better looks. Because at this point, I think she's really rushing her shot to get off and to play what the expecting is, what brings everyone to see the games. She's got to figure it out because at this point, Angel Reese is running away or starting to build and be more perceptive of probably being the herald rookie in this class, maybe a rookie of the year candidate, definitely a rookie of the year candidate, and maybe even a recipient come the end of the season. So Caitlin Clark got to turn it up a little bit, but it's true enough. She may be targeted or may be looked at or sought after, but it comes with the territory of being a highly talented player, especially in the WNBA. Speaking of highly talented players, Angel Wilson just the other night had a hellacious line number as she went 36 points for 12 rebounds, 6 steals, and the victory over the Dallas Wings the other day. Before this, she became the first player in history to have at least 35 points, 10 rebounds, and five steals in the game. So to just continue, we got to look at the WNBA is like in their 24th, 25th year of existence, in which you continue to see there's going to continue to be milestones set, even though you had some previously, but it's a different type of game now, and it continues to be that. So shout out to Angel Wilson for yet another milestone. So again, like I was saying, going back to the WNBA, of course, there has been an emphasis on this particular season. As we looked at, it was a lot of top talent coming in: the Angel Reese's, Cameron Brinks, Caitlin Clark's, just to name a few, Cardosa. So it's being seen as having a top tier type of talent injection that is looking to get more and more and more in the better. Of course, you still have players that are in college that are expected to come out and be even push that a little more. Of course, what is fortunate, I guess you say, for teams in the WNBA that they have basically the win-loss ratio is what's going to determine who gets the number one pick. So if you lose a considerable amount of games, then you're going to be the number one. You're going to have the number one pick, pending that you haven't traded away that pick previously. So right now, if the league was to stop or end today and the season was over, we know that the Washington Mystics will be the picking the number one pick overall in the next year's coming draft. So that is it. So there's a lot of talent that's going to be coming in. I know I was talking with my brother the other day in reference to the Cameron Brink drafting, in which knowing that the Sparks had the second overall pick or third overall pick. I think it was second and fourth. Oh, correct, fourth and seventh. They had that pick, in which I was like, maybe not anything against Cameron Brink. I think Cameron Brink is actually a pretty good player, but I wonder would it have been beneficial had they selected, let's say, Angel Reese and brung her into Los Angeles. Initially, my thought, honestly, was that Angel Reese might not have been ready for that type of environment in LA because it can be unforgiving at times. But I think she might have been a better selection and a player at this point. But I mean, it has yet to be seen. We still got plenty of ball to be played. Like I said, some things might turn around. It doesn't have to remain what it is. It's just a thought for the most part. So there has going into the NFL, right? A little transition. NFL, National Football League. First, we want to basically bring up and ensure that we are letting it be known as prayers continue to go out. As yesterday, they did have a scare. Chiefs defensive lineman B.J. Thompson is now in stable condition after suffering a seizure and cardiac arrest yesterday during a special teams meeting. At that point, the Chiefs organization decided to cancel the rest of their mini camp. The rest of their OTAs as their mini camp gets ready to start on Tuesday. They decided to cancel the rest of their OTAs and the rest of the activities. So BJ Thompson is, like I said, is stable, but he is still in the hospital. 5th round pick that period from 2023. Like I said, he was in the special teams meeting. So the expectation is he is a special teamer. So prayers, of course, goes to him and his family after suffering cardiac arrest. So we will see the Chiefs back into their doing back again as they get ready for their 3-day mini camp. Mandatory, let me point that out. Mandatory 3-day mini camp coming Tuesday. So staying in the realms with with mini camps, one of the things that have came up, of course, is again Caleb Williams and his ability or inability to execute in his duties as a new starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears. So what has been said, and there has been praises, along with the same amount of, I guess you could say, of talks in which they said Caleb Williams is starting to pick up the offense better. He's starting to be a little bit better. He's starting to command things. There's certain nuances in which they want to basically correct, in which they want to make sure that he has the cadence count right. They want to make sure that his ball placement is correct. So all these things are going on, in which his coach, Eberflus, has stated that Caleb is getting better. And we expect that. Well, I expect that for the most part. I don't think that he's just going to be a trash individual. And it's not my affinity to defend him because he's a USC quarterback, and we need that type of defense because it hasn't been the greatest of times when it comes to USC quarterbacks. But in-state is what we have to realize is Caleb Williams is a rookie. He's not expected, or he may not have the type of season in which CJ Stroud had, or the type of season in which Anthony Richardson was having before he had his injury. There's going to be some growing pains, and he's going to have to get better over time, and that's what you expect. I wonder, like, when you think about it, are the expectations for a new quarterback or any rookie that is going to be, especially if you're a skilled player, is the expectation that you just step in and you, especially as a number one pick, that you step in and have to be heralded and like basically able to pick up and go? Is that the expectation, or is there opportunity for you, the rookie, to have an opportunity to build and build yourself to where you get to the point to where you're going to be effective? Of course, you have some that have a tremendously great rookie season, and then of course the sophomore jinx comes. So I get everyone wanting him, especially at that price. I mean, at that juncture. But one thing of which I thought about, I put into perspective, is that these rookies, although they are expected to be great and are selected with high expectations, number one draft picks and things of this nature, their value is what their value is. Like, they're looking at potentially playing Caleb Williams, because they still have to get those their rookie deals done. They're looking at potentially playing him $39 million on a 4-year contract with a 5th-year option potentially. Right? So that is what their the possibility of his contract being $39 million, $40 million roughly. So that's about $10 million, roughly 10, almost $10 million on 4 years, a contract. $10 million, and he's a quarterback. $10 million, his rookie contract. And then it starts to diminish. It breaks off from there. He might get I think $100,000 signing bonus or something like that. But that's where it's at. So they're not really giving anything until the second contract or their extension when they're up for their extensions. So he's making money. He's being paid because he's a top draft pick. He was the number 1 overall draft pick. And that was that comes with a little something. But the expectation for them to just go in and be able to enact greatness off the rip, I think, is absurd at this point. I do think everything has to have some type of, when you're hired for a job, you hired for the simple fact of what you were able to do based off of what you did previously, right? And so the expectation, I believe, is when you come in, what you did previously, you're especially expected to be able to enact where you're at, as well as to build on where you're at, to where it's like, okay, we hired you specifically for what you have done, your insight, your abilities, and then you go from there and you build, you basically improve in your next position. Now, in some cases, it's going to be seen as this isn't a great fit, and you might be X'd out. But the end state is when you get hired, that's what it is. And so now I think they have to allow Caleb Williams to build. Of course, being that he was touted and he was talked about and everyone wanted to get him in, and he was deciding where he was going to go, how he was going to go there. Chicago picked him up and sent their last franchise quarterback on to other greener pastures, possibly, as I did see Russell Wilson speaking highly of Justin Fields just the other day. And there you have it. It's an ongoing carousel in the NFL. So it's expected it's going to continue to be that. And that's just where it's at. Additionally, moving to another topic, and within the NFL, Justin Hurts, quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, discussed and talked about the new offense that they are particularly running. So one thing that was talking about, we know Nick Sirianni, who is their head coach, has brought in Kalen Moore from Dallas and the Los Angeles Chargers fame to be the offensive coordinator. With Kalen Moore at offensive coordinator, what has happened is he has instituted new variations to their offense, in which Jalen Hurts stated that he assumed that was going to happen, right? He expected for there to be some type of changes, but however, he wasn't expecting for 95% of the offense to change. So of course, now you find himself to where he has to master or find out a new way. He has to find the mastery of a new offense in the upcoming season. The expectation is, so what going forth, as they was talked about, the Kalen Moore and Sirianni had conversation, and during those conversations, what was stated is that they want to sit up and run some forms of what offenses that they have ran before. Now that has been implemented, Jalen Hurts was under the impression that there was just going to be tweaks to the current offense, so that way it could be some type of continuity they can kind of work in. But what he said he finds is that altogether the offenses are about 95% new, which means you go from revising the playbook to a complete overhaul. So as a player in this situation, how I wonder, does it really do they really get some input? Of course, I would hope that Coach Moore or offensive coordinator Moore is taking into consideration the strengths as well as the weaknesses of Jalen Hurts and implement them to help it to implement the offense. Additionally, I hope Jalen Hurts is open to the fact of maybe something different because you got a different coordinator. And I guess it's also hard when you take in consideration the Philadelphia Eagles are just 2 years removed from being in the NFC Championship game. So being in the Super Bowl, although they did an overhaul, in that case they did lose both their offensive and defensive coordinator after that season, in which they were able to get back to the playoffs. But of course, taking the L. So we're going to see where that ends up going. Is there going to be like in every moment, and every time you turn around, there's something new. Like there's again, as much as I hate to say it, you have to take in consideration what it is with certain teams to continue to be top tier and at the top. Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion, are one of those teams. The Dallas Cowboys, although they're not winning, but they continue, they're always in the conversation when you take in consideration that they have been the back and forth with being the NFC East champions between them and the Philadelphia Eagles, going back and forth, back and forth. The Eagles, in a sense, right? Like these teams have been consistent in their playoff, trials and tribulations. The San Francisco 49ers, the Buffalo Bills, like these teams are teams that we continue to see. The Baltimore Ravens, teams that we continue to see that have made it and gotten to and made it back to, I guess you could say, the promised land, or made it at least to the playoffs. Like you have to get to the playoffs. After you get to the playoffs, then you have to kind of like start developing and move from there. And like you said, then you start to tether that line and start to look at it where it's a whole different situation now. Now you break it down to where we're talking about the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Bills. Those can become the only teams in which you start discussing. So it's basically one of those. So definitely something you have to take in consideration. As Donna says, why would they change the offense? 3 of last year, they were the NFL champions in Super Bowl appearances. So, Donovan, I was just speaking on that. They had to change the offense. I guess think about it like this. If you got to a new place and you are enacted with ensuring that this team continues to move forth, but they haven't, like, insight is to win the championship, right? So you stated they have been 3 of the last 4 years. They have been even in the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship. That's fine and dandy. You got to win. They want the dub. I look at the 49ers. 2 of the last 3 years, they have been in the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, but yet they had not got the W yet. So you have to continue to do things that's going to put you in that position. I think that's what they're doing. They brought in Kellen Moore. So Kellen Moore isn't going to take someone else's offense. He might look at it and, like I say, do some tweaks, but he has to make it his own. I think that's what he's doing. He's making it his own, and with making it his own, he's going to basically try to put them in best position to get the W. At minimum, I think especially for the Eagles and the NFC East, that's a battle in itself. Like they haven't had a consecutive back-to-back winner in over, I think, 10 to 15 years. And now what's in place is the Dallas Cowboys can potentially be that winner because they won the division last year. So now they can come and be the what she said he has some explaining to do about what? He said, Bishop, you have some explaining to do because they don't make no sense. I'm just trying to So it's just one of those things where you have to take in consideration that it's I mean, I get it. I mean, but it's unfortunate, especially for those quarterbacks. And what you think about it, it's always a conversation in reference to what is going on when you have your organization goes a carousel of offensive, defensive coordinators. There's no continuity built for the most part. Like, yes, you're the head coach. So unless you're running the offense, then it's like there's no continuity that's being built, and you can't produce like that. Like there has to be at some point there has to be a baseline. And I guess they're reestablishing their baseline. Speaking of reestablishments, I have seen players. So it's interesting, right? The market is what it is. Of course, I don't know if you've been paying attention. We know that Justin Jefferson just received a extension that basically makes him puts him at roughly $35 million a year as a wide receiver. resetting the market for the quarterback. I mean, for the wide receivers. We know there's a bunch of wide receivers that are out there that are looking to get paid. Of course, one of them being, of course, my beloved 49ers, Brandon Ayuk. So now the market is reset, and you have those players that are going to look to get paid anywhere between that number or in around that number. Of course, if you feel like you're the reason for the season on your team, then if you see someone else that is the reason for the season on the team get the type of money in which they're going to that they're receiving, you want to be compensated as well. Is Brandon Ayuk Justin Jefferson? Even for the 49ers, I don't think so. I'll just be honest. He's pretty good. He has been the reason. I'm not to speak on the man's money because he makes more than I do. But is he Justin Jefferson? And that is it. Like the comparison, like so I would think that hopefully he'll think about like, yes, the expectation is I want to get paid somewhere in that ballpark, but should I be making more than what he's making? And that's honestly, when you take it, that's the first thing I look at. Like Justin Jefferson over the last and you got to take in consideration one of the years he was injured, or which is just last year he was injured. But his numbers speak to probably being the top paid receiver at this point, and that's still in the rounds with Devontae Adams and all of them. If Devontae Adams produces after when he gets ready to get an opportunity for another extension, then he's probably going to produce the numbers, that type of numbers, and maybe he resets the market yet again. But right now it's reset. Christian McCaffrey just got another pay extension, the 2-year extension, to where he has, set the market for the running backs, in which you got to think he's probably creme de la creme when it comes to running backs. And so that's rightfully so. But these markets keep getting reset. And of course, now what we're looking at is there's starting to be some conversations and brewing situations in Miami, as it has been asked and talked about. Tua in his 5th year has yet to be extended, get his extension deal. Of course, he said that the market is set. The market is what it is. And so basically, let's get a deal done. You still have other quarterbacks that are out there. I think Joe Burrow still is looking at another extension. Like you just said, Tua Tagovailoa. So it's some people out there that is going to definitely reset the market for the quarterbacks. But again, when you look at it, are those quarterbacks or said quarterbacks, i.e. Tua Tagovailoa and all that, are they going to be the talent that's going to basically garner and get that type of money? So it's interesting. Like the market, like you said, the market is what it is. Those are Tua's exact words. The market is what it is. Is it deservedly so that if a position, say the quarterback, is currently set, the market is currently set at $42 million a year for a franchise quarterback. If your quarterback is not doing $42 million type of work, should they get $42 million or in and around that area? Or should it be like whatever you are? Like, this is where we think you are. You're our franchise quarterback. Right now, you're the only thing that we got. But that $42 million quarterback has taken his team to the playoffs 3 consecutive years, an NFC Championship game twice in 4 years. Is he worth $42 million compared to you, where we have just gotten to the playoffs? That's all. So I think that has to be. I wonder, does those things go into consideration, or does the player consider or think that just because they are in that position and that's what the market is set at, that I should be receiving that type of money for the most part? So when you look at it, I guess for me, looking at that, I just wonder if that is what the expectation is. Additionally, taking consideration, just talking about the playoffs and talking about Tua Tagovailoa, I didn't realize this, but the Miami Dolphins are on a 24-year playoff win drought. So since Mike McDaniels took over as the Dolphins head coach, the last 2 years they have made it to the playoffs, but they have not won a playoff game since 2000. Since the year 2000, I think it was, since 2000. So 24 years in which they have not had a playoff victory. Now, taking consideration, out of the 24 years, honestly, the Dolphins have only been to the playoffs 6 times in those 24 years. But the 6 times they have been, they have not won a playoff game. They're a first round exit. Just this past year, they won 11 games, but they dropped their last 3 games going into the playoffs, and then of course they lost their last game in the playoffs. I have been on the show and talked about Tua and said, okay, he's supposed to be a precision passer. He's supposed to be surgical. You got to take in consideration he has had Waddle and Hill in his at his disposal. Additionally, now Mossert, Arcane, like there's production there. Like he has weapons, but yet it just continues to elude them. So maybe this year they might be able to make something happen. Maybe Tua finally gets his payday. Maybe he finally gets the opportunity to get on and get a victory and dispel that, and then go on from there. Again, every year, in-state, when you look at it, every year presents something new. So maybe this year they make it happen. What Donna to say? And that was with Dan Marino. 2000, Dan Marino. So yeah, so it's like, and then maybe that brings something up. Dan Marino is a Hall of Fame quarterback. So since Dan Marino hasn't been in the organization or at the helm, the Dolphins have been through a good amount of quarterbacks. They're currently with their current franchise quarterback who is looking to potentially get paid. What can be said is just one of those things, situations. Maybe you get a deal done. Maybe they get out the playoffs. Get into the playoffs, and maybe get a win for the first time. But that's what you strive for, right? That's what you always strive for. And more conversation, NFL talk, little nuances here and there. Justin Tucker, the most prolific kicker, I guess you could say. He's the most accurate kicker in NFL history. Was discussing, talking about how he has put on 3.8 pounds and has kind of like been in the gym and doing a couple of things, as he feels like now he has to be. He feels like now he has to be better in state. It's like, why does he have to be better? Because now you got to take into consideration the XFL's kicking rules are being taken into consideration in the NFL, to which means that the offensive line, the line will line up. We kick from the 40-yard line. The special teams players line up on the 35-yard line, and no one can move until the player touches the ball on the from the offensive team. And then it's a go from there. So now what's happened is Justin Tucker is presumably the last line of defense in that, because it's a straight line, it's a kick. And then if you have a player that gets loose, then now he is the last line of defense. So he says that he hasn't made a tackle, or he has only made 6 tackles on 195 games played. 6 tackles he has only had to make. So he hasn't recorded a tackle since 2021, I think it was the last time he made a tackle out of 6 tackles. So it really starts to bring into perspective. Of course, there are other things being tossed around, I believe, in which some teams are tossing around the fact of taking the kicker off the kickoff and utilizing other types of players, i.e., like a linebacker or a safety or a cornerback or someone who is more predicated or more who does more tackling or has a better tackling skill. So it's going to really, I guess, it's going to really come into play. Like with these players, are they who? How are they? How are they going to do this? All these special teamers going to do this? Would I remove my kicker in order to put a safety in that has the ability to do a kickoff? Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, you got to. If I guess if I found that our special teams was failing more and more, and I couldn't get my and we needed to have a better line of defense or the final person that's going to defend against that. So it comes in. Donovan said, "What? I just what?" It happens, man. It's the saying you have to take into consideration. That so it is what it is. Um, so yeah, so now when you think about going into it, it's starting to really different things are really starting to pop up and say, but on the liar thing, I was checking something out, right, in which I was like, okay, so there is a large influx of one thing is the NFL allows each team to have an alternate uniform. And so there are some teams that have went forth of late and have developed uniforms. I would say, like, remember there was the NFL jersey rush to where it was like the white on, and then they had the different colors in which what all teams, not all teams had that. I know the 49ers with the black and the red, which I despise. And then you had the Seattle Seahawks had the color rush. I'm thinking appreciating paying color rush. I said jersey rush, color rush. They the 49ers had the black and red, which I didn't like. The Seattle Seahawks had the lime green joints. I think who was it? I think the New York Jets had the bright green joints with the white. And those with those, I thought the most fires ones was the New Orleans Saints and the Jaguars are brown. Yeah, so you know what I'm saying? The newer, but I thought the New Orleans Saints had some of the most fires ones, like the white with the black trim and the gold. Like I thought those were fire. I even think the color rush for the Detroit Lions was fire too, actually. So of course now you have the newer uniforms, which I haven't pointed out too much. But you have the New York Giants uniform. I guess is presumably close to that in which Green Bay Peyton was talking about. When you look at the Jaguars all brown joints, the New York Giants ones isn't too hot either. I think the Washington Commanders, their uniform was cool, but these last ones, right, for the Minnesota Vikings, as I know I had pulled it up, the Minnesota Vikings uniform is, when you say, in my opinion, when we say fire, their uniform is looking pretty good with their upcoming white joints. Let me see as I try to pull it up, in which they're dubbing it the where did it go? In which they're dubbing it the Winter Warrior, the Winter Warrior uniform for the Minnesota Vikings. I think is the new, and they're calling it the coldest uniform in the league at this point, in which I would be willing to agree with them. I'm not I wouldn't dare go and get. I mean, I might be a sports fanatic in a sense, but I'm not a sports fanatic enough where I would go and just grab. So this is the Winter Warrior alternative uniform for the Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings. I think that is fire, right? I mean, I think it is. Like, it probably is the coldest uniform. It's supposed to give to the Nordic aspect of the team, in which they are putting basically talking about the winters, the cold winters in Minnesota, and how that goes. So this uniform, I think, really is fire when you look at it. The purple, coldest uniform. I mean, you got to give it. I mean, you're a Packers fan, so you know what I'm saying. So that's a cold uniform. You got to give it where credit is due. But I mean, I know the old adage. What's Dion saying? You look good, you play good. You look good, you play good. He said they bum ass. I get it. I believe me. Like I said, I didn't like. Yeah, I had mixed emotions when the Seattle Seahawks had their uniforms. Like, oh, that's not bad, but it's the Seahawks. I'm a 49er fan. We can't get down with that. But this particular uniform, I think, is going to be, is going to be fire. I wish that some of these other teams like my teams, like I look at my teams, like the Lakers, being from California. Of course, I'm a Lakers fan, USC fan, Dodgers fan, San Francisco 49ers fan, Sparks and all that type of stuff, Kings, everything LA for the most part, or in and around LA. But all those teams are quote unquote traditional, so they don't tend to do anything too much different from what their baseline is. Like, okay, yes, I see. Of course, we know the Lakers. Let's take it for instance. The Lakers had the Minneapolis, went back to the Minneapolis Lakers time with the blue uniforms, which I was like, okay, I could get down with that. Then, of course, the tribute to Kobe when they had the LA city version, and then they had the Mamba joints. It's like, okay, I get it. And he said, yeah, I'm here in Wisconsin. Only exception is I'm a Bulls fan instead of a Bucks fan, though, thanks to MJ. You know what? We're going to touch on that in a second, Peyton. I'm going to put a Pinterest in that because I'm going to ask you a question in a few minutes. We're going to get to that because my one of my cohorts that tends to be on the show sometimes, and Bishop, he's from the East Coast, but because he was a military brat and they moved to Oklahoma, he tends to follow other teams. Like, the only team that he represents from the East Coast, or being from New York, the only team that he reps is the Brooklyn Nets, unfortunately. But besides that, he's a Philadelphia Eagles fan, which isn't too far off. I think he's a Phillies fan or a New York Giants fan. I mean, New York Yankees fan. And then additionally, I think he's also and then Oklahoma Sooners is his college team. And so that is that. But that is interesting. Like, you know what I'm saying? The following, unfortunately, yeah, following the player, my brother himself, Don, he used to be, well, he still is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. California has 4 football teams, and yet he chose the Pittsburgh Steelers to be his team, which, of course, during that time frame, which I guess you could say could be a homage, is he loved Troy Polamalu. So from USC, Troy Polamalu, we know, was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and so he became a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But this is the twist, right? He was also a Jason Kidd fan. Well, now they had 3. I'm sorry, they had 3. I'm saying at the time, yeah, at the time they had 3. Back in, back in the day, we had 4 teams, but now we have 3. Correct. In which I think he was a Raiders fan before, just like him. I was a Raiders fan, and then I switched to the 49ers, but he was a Raiders fan, and then he switched to the Pittsburgh. But just like this, he's a Jason Kidd fan. And he used to follow Jason Kidd. So he didn't have a de facto favorite basketball team. He just followed Jason Kidd. Now, because Jason Kidd is retired, although he could have went with any of the teams in which Jason Kidd has coached, now he's back to being an LA fan, a Lakers fan. as opposed to maybe a Dallas Mavericks fan or case like that. So it's interesting. Me myself, I've always been to my teams. Like I said, even though I went from Oakland, I ended up becoming a Lakers fan. I mean, even though I went from being a Los Angeles Raiders fan to being a 49er fan. But he went from being a Oakland or Los Angeles Raiders fan to being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Interesting. So I don't get that. I guess it's tough sledding. But in any case, I think the Winter Warrior joints is going to be clean. But I was saying that I would wish that some of my favorite teams would get on the bandwagon and do the same due to the fact of, especially the 49ers. Like, I'm a 49er fan, but red is not my color. But I'm a 49er fan, so I will wear those things. But it's like, get on the let's do something different. The black and the red, like y'all keep on running that back. Or of course the white joints, in which I think those are the ones that pop the most. The white with the emblazoned black outline with the red on top of it. That was cool. But let's see if we can get, let's do something a little different. I guess I could say I'm happy that they haven't just came out with an all red uniform. But let's do something different. Lakers, let's do something different. Dodgers, I'm not too concerned about that. It is, but all my teams seem to be emblazoned in the tradition and don't step too far outside the lines when it comes to the designing. But yet you have teams like the Minnesota Vikings and their Winter Warrior outfits and everyone else. So let's see. I'll look forward to seeing what San Francisco comes up with, if they comes up with anything. For the most part, like I said, they are able to wear the alternative uniforms, in which this case the Warriors, the Vikings are going to wear that particular uniform, I believe, versus the Chicago Bears on week 15. So that's when we'll see that and see how that goes down. So yeah, that is where I look at it like that. I think when I seen that, I was like, yo, that is fire. I can get down with the Winter Warrior joints, most definitely. What else we talking about? Broncos. Again, we was just talking about the AFC East. The AFC West, in a sense. The Broncos, as we know, got rid of Jerry Jeudy, sending Jerry Jeudy to the Cleveland Browns. So now the expectation is that the team is going to be helmed, or the top dog in the receiver room is Courtland Sutton. And with so now Courtland Sutton is going to be expected. He's not in OTAs, but he's expected to be at the mandatory minicamp. So as I introduce, bring in one of our favorites. What's going on, Commissioner?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I was just speaking and wondering something, which I'm very sure you might be able to give a little information on, in which I was looking at. So you were at one point you were coaching, and you had CMB. And so when you think about talking about Deion Sanders and his "if you look good, you play good" adage, did you put any emphasis into what your team looked like on the court?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. That was not just, that's any team I've ever had. So from Fort Riley to Daegu, to Fort Hood or Fort Cavazos, even with CMB, we wanted to, if you can, now don't get me wrong, we've looked good and gotten blown out. Even at all of those places, we've looked great and we've gotten blown out. But it's, I really feel like, you have a sort of swag when you go on, you walk into a gym and your uniforms are clean, the coach is clean, the coaches, I've always, at my games, I've tried to wear a suit and tie to most of the games that I've ever coached. So that's not today's society. People wear a polo and sweats and all that stuff. So, and I'm cool with that too. But back then I really wanted to make sure that team look good from the bags to the shooting shirts to everything. You look good, you will play good because you represent something bigger than yourself.
Of course. And I was about to ask a question about the like you said, the suit and tie versus just wearing anything on the sideline. You have a commissioner of a league, you're a commissioner of a league, the Military Basketball Association. Has that broached into your mind, like setting that's part of a branding in a sense? So has that broached into your mind, like to set a standard or just presumably set the standard? Remember they tried that in the NBA with the people who weren't playing. If you was on the side, if you wasn't playing in the game, you had to, where we know some people would wear long chains, long shorts, and just wear wherever to sit on the sidelines. And then they went to like, no, you need to be suit and tie, you need to be professional. Have you thought about broaching that same perspective in your own league, or just continue to leave it up to the coaches to be individual?
That's really up to the coaches, and that's really Al, president of basketball operations. I mean, you can't just be on the sideline looking like some ragtag, and I've seen it. I've seen coaches that do rags and sagging pants and all that stuff. I mean, if that's what you say about yourself and your team, and that's what you feel is, that works for you, that's on you. But, I personally can't do that. I have to, be in a suit and tie. But I mean, it's okay to dress down, and I do that every finals. I've always had a day where I'm in whatever the NBA finals t-shirt is and some sweatpants, because I'm just running around trying to get things done. But if I have to talk to people that are supporting our league, or I'm coaching on the sidelines, the way I look says a lot about, the type of team and organization I run. So, for me, what you see is what you get. So if you see me in a suit and tie, please believe that probably, 2 practices out of that week, I get it in. I'm the type of person, when you see me in a suit and tie, my product is going to speak for itself. Those guys are going to go out there and they're going to play for me, and they have. And it's just what we do. I mean, I didn't get that from, my introduction to military basketball was with Ace. In 2011, he showed up in a suit and tie, Fort Riley. And I was like, oh, this is real. Like this is like, I was like, I mean, I had on me and Vanessa, we had on some khakis and our little Fort Riley, shirt, and he rolled in a suit and tie, and his players rolled in and they were, I mean, they all got out of their little SUV, were ducking to get into the door into the gym, and they play basketball. I mean, that was my introduction into, oh, okay, this is like, they play basketball in the military. This is wild. Like, and it was really, that's him. That was his brand. Now he's more kind of like, polo and slacks or whatever. But when it's time to dress up, it's time to dress up, and you can't be afraid to put a suit on,
So, of course, you just had an event that I'm very sure was well warranted of dressing up, because of where it can be viewed at. Just had the Military Basketball Association's championship series, in which, shout out to Alex Miller, CMB, winning the championship after just being in the championship game the year previously. But and more so, it was broadcasted on the CBS Sports Network. What was that whole event like for you from beginning to end?
It's just a wild experience, man. I mean, I get a chance to, this is just me. This is just I'm like a kid, when you see everybody, working to put on a broadcast, all the signs go up, all the different partners that support it, you're just like, wow, people really do care about the military. But from start to finish, building it, man, you know, it's hard to get on television. It is extremely hard to get on TV. You know, people can try it, but you know, when you actually get a program agreement from a network, and they say, okay, we believe in this vision, this mission, and then you have to go out. The agreement's one thing, then you got to pay for it, right? And so you've got to go out and find, you know, different partners and sponsors to help pay for a broadcast that is going to promote resiliency. And so, you know, I wouldn't. I would just say all of this is possible because we have some really dedicated coaches that put, you know, a lot of hard work into their seasons, you know, and for the most part, this entire year, they did their job, and I truly tried to do mine. And we have 2 more cracks at it. We have 2 more years on CBS Sports to make this thing, you know, go well. So we'll retool. We'll listen to what our coaches have to say in OKC at the All-Star Game and the Coaches Summit. But it was very, very successful. I mean, there are partners now that we have that got a taste of what this is about, and the sky is the limit. You know, there are so many things that, you know, that we're going to be able to announce this summer because of the work that we've all done this year. So it's pretty cool.
So did they give you viewership numbers once it was all said and done? Have they, not saying that you have to give them, but were they better than the previous year to where you can say there's a growth aspect?
So I'll put it to you this way, right? A growth aspect, yeah, right. So the year before Wichita, we were in Denver, right? So you can look at Wichita. That was the first time we were on CBS. In Denver, we were on just some, you know, Roadrunner, you know, network, you know, live stream, right? There were some commercials, but I mean, who's watching, right? Who's really watching, right? In Wichita, we had one presenting sponsor. We had was DirecTV. This year, man, I mean, when you bring on partners like Amazon and Wounded Warrior and Genentech and all these different organizations that say, all right, we believe in what you're doing because your message aligns with what we're doing, and we're willing to support you. That's where it's not lip service. You know, these are people that actually invested and tried to put military basketball on the map and on television, right? And so the growth comes where you go from, you know, rest in peace, Jim Bly, right? We started with him with UClick TV, and then we had him for 2 years. Then we go with the Roadrunner service, or the guys at Metro State in Denver. And that's great. And we look at our social media growth, like our platform, and it's at, you know, I want to say 40,000. Like that was our reach, right? Then you go to Wichita, and we're on CBS, but it wasn't CBS guys doing the broadcast. It was just, you know, make and do. And then when you talk to CBS and like, hey, I want a deal. I want 3 years. And they're like, all right, cool. Here you go. Like that doesn't happen. And then they bring in a NC2A Final Four type atmosphere broadcasting crew with the talent and all of the different, you know, announcers and play-by-play. Yeah, we've grown. We've grown. I mean, when you've got, you know, highlights of Lionel Simpson and they're going to the break, you know, when you see cutaway shots of Matt Doherty's kids, right, when he's, you know, every time he hits a shot and his kids are cheering for him on television.
Production.
I mean, that's new. And that's all I've ever tried to do, is bring something new to the game. And we're really proud to offer this to everybody. over the summer. There's going to be a path for every team in military basketball, to get to that game. And then we've asked, we're trying to get the women's championship game on CBS Sports.
Okay.
So we're trying to make that day a doubleheader day so that the women's game is actually on CBS. So it's a lot of hard work. I still haven't taken a break since after the finals. I probably will Juneteenth, from Juneteenth to about July. I'll take a break, and then I'll talk with the team and we'll put some things down. But we have a great team, man. I mean, we have a great team. I've seen all the comments. I've seen, different podcasts, different shows. I've seen all of the different things that people say about the NBA, mostly from folks that haven't, actually been in the NBA, or if they have, they were in it, a few years ago, and they're not in it now. And we want to show them a different side, because, it's difficult. None of this stuff is funded, right? It's just not. That's the biggest thing. The biggest problem with military basketball is not the different, tournaments and leagues and all that stuff. The bottom line is people are coming out of pocket. So I'm after the money. I'm after ways to fund it completely, totally. So if I have to do that through commercial sponsorships, I will. But now we're to a point where, we are set up to where we can now work with other organizations to try and get this funded. Maybe, change, look at policy, look at things that can help these athletes. And so I really feel like we're at a critical point where we should try to work together. And my phone is always open to people that want to work together, that want to reach out. Never had, and we've had partnerships with Gatorade, Pepsi, and then this year we had a partnership where we had support from Powerade and Body Armor. And we need more. We need apparel partners. We need all that stuff. So, those are all the things that I go after. But when I go after something, it's not lip service. I'll tell you that. It's, if I say I'm going to go after a certain thing, I pursue it relentlessly until I have it, and if I can't get that, then I'll try and get the next best thing, because that's what our athletes deserve. I mean, the guys came from Ramstein, man. The guys from Ramstein and Baumholder came. Man, they had a blast, man. They just had a blast, and there's always stuff that happens at a tournament, things that we didn't predict and we couldn't see that were going to happen. But come to one, come to the finals. We don't know where it's going to be next year. We haven't, but we're confident that wherever we put it, it's going to be a blast. And again, we carry the CBS Sports Network logo. They've been putting on everybody that finished the game. Once the game was over, producer came out of the truck, came in the locker room when they were doing the champagne celebration, was just like, Mike, phenomenal tournament, phenomenal event. We will see you next year. Like, it's a wrap. And so that's what we want. I want them to be able to do that for some of the other events that we have coming up. And so that's just where we are, man. It's fun. It's a fun time. It's great. It's a lot of hard work. I challenge anybody to do what we've been doing, what our team's been doing the last 6 years. We've been doing this for 6 years. Other tournaments and other organizations have been around for a lot longer than we have, but in 6 years, we went from Fountain Fort Carson to United States Air Force Academy to Metro State in Denver, Wichita, Coke Arena, to Temple University, and we have a 3-year agreement with CBS Sports Network. So that's our team, our little small volunteer team, highlighting thousands of military athletes. So it is the blueprint for success. And I hope that, people continue to support us just like we continue to support everybody else. Because at the end of the day, I don't care about what other folks are doing. I just want to support, military athletes. Some of us, some of us served. Some of us, go through post-traumatic stress, have the different things that they go through, and this is our outlet. And for me, it's real. So I wouldn't be doing any of this stuff if it wasn't something that I believed in. And I just think that it's we are coming up on a time where when you start looking at the amount of support that's coming in and who's going to be supporting us, especially in 2025, you're like, okay, this needs to be available to everybody. Every team should have the opportunity to say, okay, yeah, I want to play in the NBA. How do I do that? We need to offer them a path to compete in our events and in our association. And so that's what I've asked our team to do. Just like last year, I asked our team, I said, we will have women's basketball this year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of pushback. There's some people that said, hey, well, the interest isn't there, this and that.
Sound like the WNBA talk.
I don't want me personally. I coached women's basketball. I won the highest level of, aside from an MBA championship. Because I'm not going to lie to you. When you win the NBA finals, it's just different. It's just different. Like I get it. All armed forces is great, and I love all armed forces because you represent your service. I want to, have a gold medal. But I won all armed forces. My picture was up for like a week, 2 weeks, and then it got taken down, and it's on to the next sport. With what we do, Paris's picture stayed up there for a whole year, and he was our champion. Alex's picture is going to stay up there for a whole year unless he wants to give me another one, a different one. They got championship rings. You're a champion. You have a locker room celebration. You're a champion. It's just a different experience. The lights, the cameras, everything is on you. And I'll say this about Canon too, right? Nobody knew, I know about Canon Air Force Base in New Mexico, but now everybody in America knows because, and they played a hell of a game. And so just getting to that game, just being afforded the opportunity to play for your base, represent your base, and in front of, potentially millions of Americans on Memorial Day weekend, they're champions too. They're absolute champions too. And so that's the platform that we offer, and we're trying to expand it, and we will be expanding it with some of our other events. And so it's just fun. It's a great time for the NBA right now.
So as you just speaking about a platform, I was speaking with Coach Alex Miller after a couple of days after he won the championship, and he felt a little remorseful, I guess you could say, because he feels like there's a lot of politics in military basketball in a sense.
There is.
Okay.
There is. Now, there's politics in the sense of this. So the politics that I have to engage in is external. So I'm always talking to, the VA, different businesses, different organizations, different government organizations. If you notice, the DOD put a post out that, had, Mike Argyle on there. It's had like 25,000, views or plays. So I engage in the type of politics that says, hey, look, how do we partner? How do we get on board? How do we make things better? Alex's, no one's perfect. Okay. I'm sure Alex will tell you himself that, there are things that he probably would have done better as a player, as a coach, definitely as a coach, that could have made situations a little bit different. But there's also things, and there's also coaches that had a feeling about, Alex or his team or whatever. And we've talked, and he's talked to Al, and he's reserved the right to come to the coaches conference and hear us out, hear out what we're going to do, voice his concerns, and go from there. I mean, I'm not the type of person that's going to beg anyone to play. He's a defending champion. He has the right to defend his championship, to compete in our league. Now, some of the things that he went through this year, probably were avoidable and were unnecessary. But that's not for me to. I don't adjudicate that type of stuff. But I have been. I've given him advice. I've been a mentor, just like any other of my former. I've got. It's crazy in military basketball. It's like you actually have a coach's tree. I actually have a tree of assistant coaches or players that have coached either under me or with me. That I still mentor to this day. You ask me something, just like if I ask my coach something, hey, what do you think about this? They'll give me advice. So I gave him advice. He took some of my advice. He's because Alex he's a younger coach, but he's definitely someone that if I were coaching in this league, I would consider him a peer. So if I was coaching against him, I will not say that for some people, because I do believe that your temperament and your commitment to what we're doing is important. You've got some elite coaches, in our league. Paris is an elite coach. Ace is an elite. Al, John Morgan, Cal, when he was playing, those are guys that I just, I have a lot of respect for because of what they do. Dave Anderson is another one out at Camp Pendleton. Has been winning for years, right? Some of these guys have an entire resume off of the NBA. They have a resume from the NBA tournaments, from the NBA regular season, and now we've been around so long. Now their resume is starting to. It's actually because I have a resume, right? I have a coach's resume, right? For all the things I've done. Maybe, I'm a non-basketball player. So, I don't, all I wanted to do was do something that in my off time. Right. But these guys' resumes now is starting to look like some of the things that I've done in my career, where I've volunteer career, because I was a successful Army officer. But when you talk about like coaching, I look at like Paris has, got relationships out in Phoenix with high schools and universities, and Dave does his backpack drive. Ace has relationships with the Atlanta Hawks, and the Quarter Dreams and runs tournaments. When you start taking all of the different things that people have done that are just associated with the Military Basketball Association, you have a very nice military basketball resume. It's competitive. It's the most competitive, period. You can talk about how many times you've been to All Armed Forces, but how many tournaments have you run? You can talk about how many gold medals you have, and that's great. You have gold medals, but when you win an NBA championship on CBS Sports, like Alex and Paris have done, it's different. It's just different, and then just winning an NBA championship, because if you watch the game, they cycled through and they showed our history of all of our champions, right? It's different. It's just a different thing. And I want to give this to everybody. I think that's what the misconception is that we have a lot of rules and we have things that, we do promote installation military basketball. We want community. We want that. but and that's not popular with everyone, right? But at the same time, that's what we do. That's what we do. We've made the jump. We've taken things off base, right? The most people that a facility can hold is like 250, maybe 400 before you start getting the base fire code, folks, down your neck talking about, hey, you know what, this is too much. I'd rather have more room than to turn people away and then have some type of fire code. There's a lot of stuff that I've just been educated on in the last 6 years. And so that's our approach. That's where we're going. We're going off base. We're getting into people's communities. And that's what we want to do, and that's not any disrespect to anyone else, but that's strategically what we want. We want to bring in everybody, all the big players, all the Powerades and the Gatorades and the Coca-Colas and the Nikes and all. We want it all. We want all that smoke because we can. And that's the direction that we're taking it. And so we're going to have a very detailed presentation for our coaches in OKC. We're going to have a spirited debate, I think, on some of the things that are going to make the league better moving forward. And then we're going to play basketball. We're going to have an all-star game. This is our third all-star game. And every year it's going to get better. So those are the things that we like. But Alex's point, man, get back to you. He has some points. He's got some very valid points. And it was hard for him. It was hard. And then he went to Philadelphia with 7 guys, to include himself, with his wife and his family and the families of the players. And he was successful. He came out on top, and that's a testament to him. It's a testament to his ring ceremony. It's going to be at the Olympic Training Center. And so he deserves all the credit. And I would do that for any other coach in our league that won. I did that with Paris, try to make it to the ring ceremony, but I wasn't able to, or to his celebration. But, this one's here at home, so I'll be able to make it. And I have to go out to Fayetteville and do the women. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be it's a great summer. And hey, we got to get you out there. You saw the guys. There's a show called Feel Good Talk, and they were podcasting and getting interviews from players and everybody right there in the event. It was dope, man. You would have loved it.
I think when I seen it, that's how I envisioned it, like before. But it's coming. I remember talking to Jason when we did the reveal for the Siege and stuff like that. And it was something that he said that has been playing over and over and over in my head and resonating more and more. So it's just one of those things. So it's definitely coming. So you said you have more events coming on before the restart of the 24-25 season. What are those events that's coming up for the NBA?
So we will. I know that Ace has been working on the summer tournament down not in Orlando, but at Hobart Field down in Fort Walton Beach.
Okay.
And again, all we do is plant a seed, and then we just watch it grow. So we'll be in the Fort Walton Beach area. Destin, Hobart Field. He's already got the teams. Those teams are there. There's a couple of teams on standby in the event that they can't make it. But bottom line, man, we go where we want, and we're going to put tournaments in places that guys like. And this is an open tournament, and so that's July 12th to the 14th. And we're proud of that. I think that's a great place. It's a military town. Great beach town, great place for our guys to kind of come in, get an off-season kind of vibe, play in an event that lets them just kind of let their hair down. And again, for us, it's about offsetting the cost. So we think we'll be able to do that confidently.
Okay.
I say that confidently, and then we'll see how it grows next year. But we think that, you know, that tournament is going to be one of the ones that we attempt to grow in 2025. So from there, it's 8 right now, and we think we can grow it to 16 next year in 2025. And just military ID card holders, it's an open tournament. You know, that's what the guys said they wanted. You know, we're only going to be able to do that once.
Yeah.
They wanted that. They want an open tournament. You know, I like our process. You know, we check. You know, we check ID cards. We check. You know, the way we do things. We're pretty efficient at just, you know, making sure that what we do. And then for our tournament, you know, whatever the NBA name attracts, that's what it attracts. And so, you know, we'll be down there, you know, just trying to grow it. And the community, I think that community, Fort Walton, is going to love that event there. And I think we're going to be there for some years to come. After that, you know, we go into the All-Star game break, the All-Star game, and the Coaches Summit. And I mean, we're going to have a really good, cool All-Star game. You know, Armed Forces is starting a little bit earlier this year, so there'll be some things that basketball ops and Coach Mayon put out with respect to the All-Star. Those names should be out, you know, when they release them, but it shouldn't be too long. And then, you know, after the All-Star game, you've got the Atlanta Military Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Veterans Day in Texas at Fort Worth. Then you got the start of the regular season potentially, and this is all just draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go MLK tournaments in the Atlantic and in the Central. Regular season tournaments, and then in February, because there's 2 tournaments now. You know, we're going to take a break. We won't do any tournaments, I don't believe, in February. And then you got Puerto Rico, which like that's going to be a blast, man. I mean, Puerto Rico was a blast last year. It's just one of those things where you had to be there. You had to be there. If you were there, then you understand why everybody wants to go back. And what's really cool is that in all of these events, the women have an opportunity to come on board and play. You know, that's what I like. You know, I think Ace has done a great job as the interim commissioner for the WNBA. They have their own league. They have their own process to get to the WNBA finals in next year. And so, you know, it's just great, man. We're just organized, well-oiled machine, and we're moving forward.
So the All-Star game is going to be in Oklahoma, correct?
Oklahoma City,
and that's in
University. That's right. Yeah. So, you know, hopefully, like I said, you know, the Coaches Summit will be back at the Thunder's Arena. I know the Thunder are pretty busy. They had a great season, trying to wrap up, you know, everything over the summer. So as soon as our contacts at OKC, the Thunder, you know, get back in touch with me, we'll know a lot more about the venue for where the Coaches Summit's going to be at. But again, it was great, man. Like, and you know, players are now invited to the summit. You know, we want to hear from folks. We want to hear from everybody. You know, we want to hear from everybody. We don't want people thinking that their voice isn't going to be heard. Even if you're not in the NBA and you want to show up and you got something to say, you know, you can say what you want. But if you're in the NBA, you have standing, right? We got to listen to you. But if you're outside and you just, you know, you're like, hey, you know, I'm on the verge. I don't know if I want to be in the league or not. You know, we want to hear from you. You know, we definitely want to hear from you. And so it's going to be real spirited because Normally at the coaches summit, I kind of sit on the sidelines and I'm just like listening and trying to work out details for the All-Star game. Not this year. This
Maybe a
year,
little more involved.
yeah. And that's because, a lot of guys, when they see the MBA commissioner and our coaches now, they don't remember a time, some of them, but I did everything that they've done. The blueprint for the NBA really started at, Riley, Daegu, Fort Hood. It's just like, well, what would I want? What would I want my end of season tournament to look like? And so that's what we're trying to give to everybody. It's like, hey, it was a great experience at Fort Hood, and so, again, we're ready to partner with anybody who's willing to step up and wants to have that conversation. I'm here for it.
So a little transition. I know your affinity for the purple and gold. What do you think about the prospects of Hurley taking the helm as opposed to any other one else for the most part? JJ Redick or any other names that have been tossed out there?
So I'll tell you this. I made a post yesterday because I thought they had hired JJ Redick, right?
Okay.
So what you have to do, the Lakers have to do, is they've got to hire a coach who's going to be able to rebuild. Okay. JJ Redick doesn't know the first thing about coaching. He's just, I got LeBron James and let LeBron be LeBron and do whatever LeBron wants. Mm-hmm. That's not a coach. That's not. Has JJ Redick ever coached anywhere in his entire basketball career?
Not even on the coach of anyone's bench. So I guess, yeah.
Not a coach, right? So I would say there are probably guys in our league who could do a better job than JJ Redick. They got more reps, right? And they've dealt with personalities, right? And so who's going to tell LeBron, stop crying and quit acting like a clown, when the calls don't go your way? Just shut up and play basketball, right? Is it going to be JJ Redick? Now Hurley, he come from a basketball family.
Yeah.
Right? When LeBron leaves, you still got Hurley.
Mm-hmm.
And you got that name. Right? So when they go to, because we headed to the lottery. All right. Let's stop. All right. 2 years, we're gonna be in the lottery. LeBron retires, right? We're gonna be in the lottery. Who's gonna tell LeBron, hey, we're not drafting your son? Okay, it's not happening. Right? I gotta build this organization. We're not drafting your son. Your son is not gonna play basketball with you. I know that's what you want. If that's what you want, this is not the organization for you. I don't know if that's Bobby Hurley, but people who are like me, who are diehard Laker fans, we just want to win. Boston about to get their damn 18th championship, man. That's pissing me off. I'm not with that, son.
I still have hope. I seen a clinic last night, but I still have hope that they can hold them off. I have hope that they can hold them off.
And but Golden State lost. I think they lost the games to and they put Boston in their place. Mm-hmm. Boston can crack, but it just seems like this is their year. They're built to win it all, right? But they about to win at 18th, right? So we got to do something. We got to do something because that's not cool. I'm not. I love the Celtics, stand alone, but I'm a Laker fan, so I don't want Boston winning nothing.
I feel the
right?
same way.
Matter of fact, you kind of frustrating me with this all this green on your screen right now. I'm seeing it. I'm just liking that. I'm not. If I see this green and white, I'm not a Celtics fan. I mean, you got the wrong colors up. Like when I come on the show, you need to have the purple and gold on, man. Fix the font, but.
Oh my goodness.
No, but I think Hurley is somebody who built UConn.
Mm-hmm.
They brought him in. He won. He's a winner. That's the difference between a lot of coaches out there right now. Right? You can bring in a guy and he's just it's his way or the highway, right? They don't know how to win. At the end of the day, it's about winning. Right? It's not the most important thing, it's the only thing. Right? You don't win You know, what's the point? You know, and so at that level, the next coach the Lakers hire can't be a waste of money like Darvin Ham, right? It can't be a waste of money. It's got to be somebody who's going to navigate them post LeBron. Post LeBron, right? Look at Scott Brooks. Scott Brooks left OKC, right? Then you got who came in? I think it was Billy Donovan came in, but OKC they don't lose for long. They just don't. They are a winning. And dude got coach of the year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a winner. He didn't win an NBA championship, but he damn sure came close. And they set up for success. Period.
Honestly, when you think about it, it started way back when Danny Ainge was their president, where he just set them with all those. Everyone kept on talking about how they were collecting draft positions, in which they were, but then it starts to pay off. Now we're looking at it, like you say, years down the line to where they have been able to find that they go to use those draft picks to do different things. And now, like you just spoke about, they have went through coaches after coach after coach, but yet their consistency is still prevalent.
Yeah, I mean, you know, first of all, Billy Donovan is a great coach. He was a great coach, and great basketball mind, great coach. And you know, when we interacted with him when we were in OKC, just a really cool guy. But I don't personally believe that I don't believe that the Lakers are in a situation where they are going to be losing for long, but they keep making like trying to choose my words wisely here because I'm a Laker fan. They make poor decisions. The fact that JJ Redick is even in conversation about being the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers is all LeBron James. That's ridiculous. If you know, players, you know, I think players should be able to have some say so on who the next person is that leads them, but you don't want a yes man. You know, because if that's the case, and this is what Byron Scott said, this is what if you want to make all these decisions, right, just be a player coach. Do what Alex Miller did on CBS Sports. Hey, go on and just be a player coach, man. Go ahead and be a player coach, man. Just be a player coach. You know, don't worry about it. Just do what you want. Now you're the coach. Now, though, but see, here's the problem. When the shit hits the fan and things go wrong, that's on you. You have to eat that. You can't say, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's not this. You gotta eat that. That's just that's the way it is. And I think, to be completely honest with you, LeBron would be an effective player coach anyway. That's never been done before. It's never been seen before. The last person to do it was like Bill Russell, effectively, and won a championship. Yeah. You let LeBron go in and be a player coach. Now you can draft your son because you're the coach.
And which I'm definitely going to get back to. But before getting into that, what did you think about last night's game? Of course, I guess you think highly of it for the Boston Celtics because you believe that they're going to get their 18th. Unfortunately, I think Dallas can hold that off. But from the coaching standpoint, your coaching mind, your coaching brilliance, what did you think about what the Celtics was able to do last night?
They have too many weapons. They just have too many weapons. It's just, you know, they have too many weapons. You know, the Mavericks have, you know, I think Cal wrote a comment. You know, they got the Celtics present matchup problems for Dallas all over the court, and all that slow shit that, you know, that we talk about Luka Doncic and everything dominating that shit. Exposed. Okay, you can't guard nobody. You can't stay in front of nobody.
Tatum said it. He's like, you're not hiding anybody.
You can't hide them. They're going to expose you. You're going to get exposed. And so, I mean, anybody could see that. So if you, I mean, you can still turn it around, you know, but that means, I mean, like, the only way for them to win, I think, is he would just have to go crazy. I mean, he'd have to do something like average like 50. He'd have to present a problem to, you know, Kyrie's going to have to, his output's going to have to be a lot more, right? The world's not flat. Okay, he's going to have to produce more, but they just don't have enough. They look like they look like the Lakers in 2008. You know, the 08 Lakers, they had enough, right? But they were missing something, right? Oh, they were missing I think they were missing Bynum, right? They had Kobe and Gasol, and they went up against the Celtics, but they just didn't have enough. You know, it was just something that was missing. And so they played admirably. They got beaten 6 games, but it's missing something, right? Like Dallas, the Celtics team right now was built to win this year. It's built to win this year. They got a guy from Derek White, right over here at UCCS, Colorado Springs. Great guy. You know, great, and he's hooping. Like when you have guys like that are just hooping like that, man. I mean, it's hard to beat them. The way they're playing right now. If the Celtics will probably win game 2. If the Celtics win game 2, the Mavs might get swept. It's hard to say that. But so the very next game is critical for Dallas. It's a must-win game, because if the Celtics go into Dallas down 2 games,
and what I was thinking about was initially is that Porzingis gave them a lift, but then I thought again, you
need to check with Al Mayon, because I don't think he met the veterans exception. He didn't make the. They brought him in. He's a ringer. They brought him in, and everybody's like, "Who is this Porzingis? What is he doing?" Like, but he's good, right? He just didn't show his ID card. And
then he's like 2 point. He was 2. Anyone he guarded, he 2 for 11 when he was the primary defender. 20 points last night. The 20 points in which they got blown out by. So I don't know. I mean, like they said, a unicorn spotting, and it's ideal when you look at it. Like who's going to be more effective? Porzingis, who's the former Maverick playing against the Mavericks, or Kyrie, who's the former Celtic playing against the Celtic? It's hard. I mean,
that question was answered last night. But I think the Mavs will respond, but they have to win this next game. It's a road game, but they have to win it. They cannot go to Dallas down 2 games to nothing, because the Celtics are going to steal one of those games. They cannot. Celtics have played pretty decent on the road. They cannot go to Dallas down 0-2. It's just basketball, man. It's just all it is. I mean, if you watch the NBA, you watch it enough, you know that stuff like that happens. But Porzingis was he met the veterans exception, and the basketball council said he could play. So
going back to what the discussion we just having, and the fact of the conversation of Ronnie James potentially being drafted by, which of course a lot of hoopla is being said that he's going to probably be drafted by the Lakers with the 2nd round pick. So of course, and you're going to definitely engage on this a lot. That to me, a lot of stuff comes in that. There's only 60 selections every year for NBA for the NBA's new incoming players, in which now Bronny wasn't even in that conversation. He went and did serviceably well at the combine, and now he's been elevated to 55th, which puts him presumably in the one of the rounds. Do you not think that he gets drafted by the Lakers or anyone else?
I don't care who he gets drafted by. The problem is that right now you got guys who don't come from the prominent life that he's come from, that are working their ass off to get noticed, and he gets a pass, not a pass, because he's a great player. He's still a good ball player, but he gets advanced. He gets to skip some of the hoopla in marketing. He gets to get out there and because of his dad, and that's, I mean, you can look at it two ways. You can be like, look, you can look at it from LeBron James' angle. It's like, hey, you know, that's why I did the things that I did so that I could give the opportunities to my son, which is how I feel about like service. Like I served in the military so that my kids can have the opportunities that they have right now. So I feel all that, but it's a form of I don't know. I'm not gonna say nepotism, but it's like, hey, you know, I'm gonna hook you up, you know, and so. Does he get drafted? Maybe. I don't know. Because if he gets drafted, wherever he gets drafted, now you're bringing that circus to your organization. And the pressure on that coach to play this guy is going to be enormous. And he's a very good basketball player, but is he a basketball player that should be playing in the NBA?
Mm. And that, I mean, looking at what Paul, of course, he's assigned to Clutch. So what from what Paul was saying, is it that he's like, the teams know, he's like, he's looking for who is real, and he's like, we're not doing a two-way contract. And so, and that being said, is like, he's like, if someone, he's like, they're also looking at who they're going to go and perform and interview for, quote unquote, with the workout
contract.
Huh?
Who said they're not doing a two-way contract?
His agent. He said they're not doing they're not doing two-way contract. He's like, that's not what we want to do. So for me, I thought about it like how, like, who speaks for him? Is this Bronny speaking? Or who's speaking? But the ideal is that he's not going to do, the expectation is that they're not going in to do a two-way contract for any team, and that they want to know what teams are serious and what teams are not. So they've already informed that the expectation is that he's not going to play on. He's not going to go in to be a two-way player, being in the G League and playing experimentally on someone's bench. I think the idea is that he's going to be at the end of someone's bench and given the opportunity to work his way up if it presents himself. And which is like, did I go back to, like, you were just talking about the nepotism in a sense, when you look at, this is LeBron James's son, and it's like, I go back,
whoever drafts him also may be able to sign LeBron James. Okay. So if you're a small market team, like, I don't know, Pelicans or somebody, and the Lakers, you know, I think LeBron James has said he's going to opt out.
He's going to opt out. Yeah.
Right. So, it's just one of those things, man. I mean, I wish I had that problem, you know, but I don't. So I don't really care. I don't have that problem, you know, but for him, it's about his legacy. But it's already like you either like LeBron James or you don't like him. For me, on the basketball court, I think he's a phenomenal ball player. He's not my favorite basketball player. You know, obviously, my GOAT is Kobe Bryant. Mm-hmm. After that, it's Michael Jordan. And then after that, it's Magic Johnson. Then after that, it's Larry Bird. I mean, I have my list of people who are like my GOATs, right? But so LeBron's not even, you know, he's not top 5, right? But that doesn't mean that his accomplishments aren't great. Off the court, LeBron James is one of the greatest humanitarians in the history of sports since Muhammad Ali. So he's phenomenal. I see you. But no, I got you. Man, my son be doing it to me all the time. But I really think that but there's just things that LeBron says or does, when you say it's just basketball, I didn't really like that. He didn't say the most boneheaded thing in the playoffs though. It wasn't him. Mike Malone said the stupidest thing I've ever heard. When you lose to a team the way you lost to the T-Wolves, you just give all praise to the T-Wolves, and you don't make excuses for nothing. Not a coach. The players make excuses. Let them do that. As a coach, you be magnanimous. You give props to the team that beat you, and you retool and you refit and you get back to it next year. And he's from Denver, and but he says boneheaded things. And he got humbled. He got humbled. In my opinion, he got humbled. He said all that shit about the Lakers. We've never lost to the Lakers, blah blah blah. And then, Ant-Man destroyed him. He had no answer.
No answer whatsoever.
So
before we get out of here, I asked questions, a hypothetical. If you had a magic wand and you can wave it, what is the one thing as the NBA commissioner that your wand waving will produce that is going to set y'all, in your opinion?
Ooh, man, a magic wand. I think if I could wave my wand, everyone would be afforded the opportunity, to play in our league, and more of our games would be televised. People don't understand that with television comes revenue, comes support.
The media, right?
So that's the thing. But if I had it all over again, if I had one wand that I could just do it once, right? Because I gave you like 3 things, right? And I gave you like my strategic thought process. Yes. But if I could just wave my wand, military basketball would be funded across the board through various organizations or through one organization. But these guys all they have to do is show up and play basketball for their resiliency. That's what I would say. That's what I would do.
And I continue to hear the conversation in reference to the funding. Do you think that is truly the issue, and that fixing that will basically start to right that ship, or do you think it's just the most?
Absolutely, because look, you got NBT doing what they do with the budget that they have, right? You have us doing what we do with the budget that we have. You got other people trying to do other stuff, put things together with either a budget or no budget at all, right? You have all these different crosstalk, and then you have, to me, it's all based around, hey, how do we fund it? How do we fund it? How do we actually put it together and fund it? I'm gonna be honest. I support everybody's stuff. I've been down to San Antonio. I've been out to California. I've been to the Capitol Classic in Washington, D.C. I'm waiting for those guys to support what we do. I really do. I think because I do think there's some synergy there where if they saw what we were doing, we could do it. But I think I'm out to have a Big Ten and open the door to everybody, to include Mike and Dwayne and those guys down in San Antonio. I think what we should probably try to stay away from is the comparative analysis between what we do, because it's not the same. Mm-hmm. It's just not the same. It's different. It's a totally different concept. It's a tournament. And I've heard guys talking about starting other leagues, and I support anything that people do in military basketball. I just know what we do, and what we do is so important, and so unique and so different because of the work that we've put into it. So, I hope that people listen to what, I like your show. Hope they listen to some of the things that I'm saying, so that we can come together. Because at the end of the day, I might not have the same ideas that Mike and Dwayne have, or anybody else, but there are forces out there, actual people who are literally black and white writing out military sports. They're trying to figure out a way to limit it, defund it. It's already defunded, right? And so those are the people that you should be having podcasts about, and having discussions on. Those folks that are out there actively trying to reduce and eliminate, military basketball, military sports. Those people exist. They exist and they're real. And instead of us trying to find out what our differences are, we should absolutely be trying to find out why those people want to destroy military sports. Why is it so hard to get funding for certain things, but then you see all this other stuff out there, 10 miler, all kinds of different things that just get full funding, like fully funded TDY. You run, you want to run 10, all that stuff gets fully, like, there's just money's thrown their way, right? And why is that happening? And then you have what Dwayne and Mike do down there. It's in San Antonio. I like it. It's what they do, but they work their ass off. They work really hard to try and put on a good event or support military athletes, just like we do. So the more that we're doing this in comparative with each other, the worse off we're going to be, because there's someone who's watching us do this, right? That's got a black and white pen and a keyboard, and they're figuring out ways to eliminate all of it. That's a fact. That's a fact. So I hope that that's the stuff that we actually come together on and try to figure out. And I'm game and open to whatever conversations want to have. But I don't hold my breath. People know my number, but pride is a serious thing, and I'm not sitting here. I sit here humbly. I can humbly sit here and say I won 2 national championships at Mike and Dwayne's event down in San Antonio, and that's propelled me to do other stuff. And we've had 6 NBA championship finals, and 2 are on CBS with an agreement with CBS Sports. And I owe a lot of that to some of the exposure I got with some of the people that I worked with in the past. I'm not too proud to say that, right? I would ask that other people have that same humility. That's the thing that I would say, is that we're working just as hard as everybody else to put things out there, and to help people. That's the ultimate goal, is help people.
That's what most of all always hashtag the armed forces athletes. Of course, all of us, the majority of us, having the armed forces background, and then of course at this point voluntarily going forth to try to push, do the best to push the line for certain things. All of us have a place in it at this point, and it continues. I greatly appreciate you coming on today, Commissioner Meyers. Of course, we're going to do more speaking. I'm going to make a concerted effort to pull up at minimum in Oklahoma during the All-Star break. I'm going to put it in September. That's around my birthday time frame. So I'm going to try to definitely be down there.
I'll tell you what, you pull up. I got your meal at Abuelo's in OKC.
Okay,
I'll take you out. We'll square you away. We'll have a blast.
Definitely going to try to do that to see if we can do something. Definitely. So I greatly appreciate you. Any last words before we vacate?
No, just, hey, the NBA Championship game is going to re-air tonight on CBS Sports Network. You can watch it on YouTube TV, DirecTV, Hulu, Apple TV, Fubo, any of the platforms that carry CBS Sports Network. You're a great journalist. I love your show, and thanks so much for having me on.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate the love. Of course, like you say, we'll be back again on Monday. There's some things that came up that I'm going to see if I can what I can enact as well as some other things. So y'all already know what it is. We'll be talking about NBA finals continue on Sunday. WNBA has a slate of games tonight. Is up from here. Greatly appreciate Commissioner Mike Meyers of the Military Basketball Association coming through, giving us some insight. We look forward to seeing more things from there. And we'll holler at y'all. Peace. Enjoy your weekend.